Would everyone please take a seat? Go ahead and. Yep, would everyone please take a seat and we'll get started. Thank you for signing in. We've actually begun. All right, it's 6:30. Aloha mai kako. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today. We will now begin the meeting of the Kuli'ou'ou-Kalani Iki Neighborhood Board, and again, welcome. Janine, can you hear? We've got a connection. Okay, we're just checking our connection because we have our online participants as well as everyone here. So we want to make sure that everybody can join us. Okay, we're good. Let's start with our city and state monthly reports. For all of our first responders who are here, we thank you very much for being here and for taking care of us. Can we start with the Honolulu Fire Department? Aloha.
Aloha, hello board members and community members. My name is Emmett Hall. I'm the captain at the Wailupe Fire Station. And the incident statistics for April 2025, we had one nuisance fire, 3 activated alarms with no fire, 36 medical calls, 4 motor vehicle collisions, 1 mountain rescue, and 1 ocean rescue. And then I have a fire safety tip for you folks. It's regarding fire sprinklers, which serve as the first line of defense against fires and often can extinguish the fire before the fire department arrives. Fire spreads quickly. It can turn deadly in under 2 minutes. And synthetic materials burn quickly and release deadly poisonous smoke. High-risk individuals in home fires include small children, elderly adults, and those with disabilities and pets. Fire sprinklers will protect your home and family and activate automatically to control the fire and give everybody time to get out. The best protection, in addition to fire sprinklers, would be smoke alarms and having a practiced fire escape plan. For more information, please go to fire.honolulu.gov or you can visit homefiresprinkler.org.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for our firefighters? I have a question. Do you know if the Wailupe Coast Guard facility is going to become available for the fire station to expand into?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. It's just on, I know, everyone's wish list. It would be a wonderful opportunity. Okay. No questions. Thank you so much for,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for serving our community.
Hi, good evening. Lieutenant Thompson from the Honolulu Police Department, District 7.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The stats for the month of April, there were 7 motor vehicle thefts, 6 burglaries, 10 thefts, and 7 unauthorized entry into motor vehicle cases. And total calls for service for April was 6,334. And I'll go over some safety tips. This is found on the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration website for driving safety. Top 10 tips for 2020-25. Number 1 is buckle up every trip and every time. Ensure children are in the right seat according to their size and weight and age. Number 3, drive sober. Intoxicated driving, either drugs or alcohol, are deadly on our streets, so please drive sober at all times. 4, pay attention to the road. 5, obey speed limits. Sometimes speed limits may need to be reduced based on visibility due to rain or lighting. So please pay attention. So 4 is pay attention to the road. Number 6, never drive drowsy. Driving drowsy is just as dangerous as driving drunk. Make sure you have enough rest, and if you don't, please pull over and take a moment. 7, share the road responsibly with others as pedestrians and bicyclists are on the road. Be cautious of others. 8, pay attention to flashing lights. Vehicles on the road, be it first responders, tow trucks and stuff, sometimes may edge out into the road. Please be careful of them when the lights are flashing. Number 9, talk to teen drivers, educate them on the safety of driving responsibly, as sometimes they're not as experienced or make good decisions. And number 10, check for recalls. You can check for recalls on NHTSA website and keep your car in working condition to be operated safely. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Thompson. Does anyone have questions for our Honolulu police? Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My neighbors and I noticed a lot more.
Bill, please introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, Bill Kilcoyne, Aina. The racing on the highway is getting worse. The speed limit is a joke, and something has to be done before somebody gets seriously injured. The speeding is incredible, all during the day and night. So hopefully something can be done, but it's not good.
Yeah, we're aware of the racing. We have traffic units that are out. They move all over the island, and they enforce the racing and drunk driving on the highway. And we have officers on patrol that during the nighttime that are designated for traffic enforcement. I'll have them direct to Kalani Highway to look for that. If you do see anything, please call 911 and report that.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for our police? No, I don't see any. Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
all you do. Okay, our next report is by Board of Water Supply, but Christopher Sugimoto, he let us know that he wouldn't be able to make it tonight. There is a report available which pertaining to water main breaks. There weren't any new ones to report, and there are some general announcements pertaining to conserving water during the summer. And these can be obtained on the Board of Water Supply website. Okay, we will now go to board business. First is approval of the April 2nd, 2025 minutes. Those minutes have been distributed. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no corrections, the minutes are approved. I'd next like to welcome Nathan Sirota from the Department of Parks and Recreation, who is going to talk to us about an opportunity that the community has to weigh in. Hi, Mr. Sirota, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Sure. Thanks for having me. Glad to put a face to a name after all of our email conversations. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nate Sirota with the Honolulu Department of Parks and Recreation. Nathan is my formal name. And last couple weeks ago, we announced an effort where we're trying to create more on-leash dog parks within our city park locations. Currently, there's less than 15% of our parks which either have off-leash areas or on-leash dog parks. In a lot of park areas, people will walk their dogs through a park on leash. You know, you can always traverse a park when it's closed or walk your dog through it. But there's very few areas where you can legally remain in the park with your leash dog. And so we really wanted to increase that amount because we are understanding, you know, that that's a population of park users that we want to encourage in the parks. It's a really great way to activate certain areas of our parks, particularly where there may not be enough space for, you know, fields or like league activities or other facilities, like the smaller neighborhood parks, there may be not as many amenities that would have large groups come and use that area. So dogs, people walking their dogs tends to be a really common use of those spots. So what we announced is what we want to hear from you folks. Ideally, what we'd like to do is have you folks over the summer kind of have these discussions at the neighborhood board level. We created this map that Zoidel is looking at. Thank you. It's got all of your neighborhood boards. It actually has geotagged the districts that you can click on for Kuli'ou'ou, from Kuli'ou'ou Beach Park all the way over to Kalani High School, Wailaiki Park is kind of your jurisdiction. And it actually shows which parks do have leash or on-leash dog park privileges. And right now, there's only 2 within your guys' jurisdiction that have those dog privileges. So if you folks want to, certainly we welcome any input, whether that's for and against this effort, and we're not just doing this arbitrarily to create more on-leash areas. We are cognizant of 2 of the main concerns that people have when it comes to having dogs in parks. One of those is unleashed and dangerous dogs, and the other one is irresponsible dog owners, dog kahu as we like to call them, that don't pick up after their pets. And so to respond to those, there's 2 kind of efforts that we're looking to offset that. One for the dangerous dogs. Luckily, the legislature last year passed Act 224, excuse me, which codifies what a dangerous dog is and also makes it a felony if your dog attacks someone. And so that actually goes into effect this July. So it's actually a change to HRS, Hawaii Revised Statutes, that kind of makes it so that there are greater consequences if your dog attacks someone. And then concerning people who are irresponsibly not picking up after their dog's mess, we are looking at having dog waste bag stations at certain parks. It would probably be a pilot program to kick off, so we'd probably do it in larger park areas. Cocoa Head District Park would probably be one. I know that's not in your folks' area, but ones that have regular staff so that we can monitor them, because anytime you put something out in a public facility that's open with any parks, it's prone to vandalism or prone to grow legs and walk away. So it's something that we'd want to monitor first. So very much, I thank you. This is actually the first neighborhood board that's invited me to come speak. So really looking forward to hearing what you folks have to say. And again, we got a lot of time to discuss this within the neighborhood board levels. We're looking to get some input back from you folks in the September timeframe. Ideally, that would be in the form of like a resolution so that you folks can have robust discussions on it, can vote on it, and there can be an official document saying, here's the parks where we'd like to see on-leash privileges. So please, any questions?
Yes, Janine, please go ahead.
Hi, aloha. I'm actually secretary to the New Valley Community Association. So I put the question to our governing board, and the question came up as to where in New Valley do you want to put the dog park users? Because if you're not familiar with our city park, it's very steep. There's a playground at the very bottom, but it goes all the way up the mountain, and then there's tennis courts at the top. So there's really nowhere for dogs to hang out unless they're running up and down the hill, which owners may not want to do that. And we do have a lot of dog owners, but they generally use our the field that is right next to the park. So I'm not sure if you want to find out where you want to put the dog items, because that will make a difference. I don't think anybody's going to go up into the park, up the hill in order to walk their dog when they just normally walk their dog on the soccer field that we have right next to the park.
Yeah, so that brings up a good point. Now, I'm vaguely familiar with, you're talking about New Valley Neighborhood Park, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of our parks, particularly, ones in these types of neighborhoods have what we call sloped areas that are difficult to access. And so part of this initiative, you don't have to designate an entire park as a leash dog park. You can actually do sections of it. That's what we have. Kuli'ou'ou-Kalani Park is actually like that, where it's actually just the median strip. That cluster of ironwoods that's just past Dillingham Fountain is actually the designated on-leash area. Granted, dog owners tend not to stay just in that area. They may walk along the periphery of the park as well too. But certainly you can designate areas of a park to be on leash. Particularly one of the concerns that we had heard was, the soccer field that you had mentioned. A lot of people may be adverse to having on-leash dogs, any dogs of any kind on an athletic field because they'll be doing their business where kids are playing or where adults are playing as well too. So that's very much a valid concern. So if there's a specific area of a park that you would like to make on-leash, certainly that's something that we can look at as well. It doesn't have to be the entire park.
Yes, we have a question from Mr. Kilcoyne.
Would this be fenced so the dogs don't run around outside the fenced area? Is that how this works?
No,
The
so
dog park or?
for a fence, so that would be like an off-leash area. So what you see over like Hawaii Kai Dog Park, yeah, that's a fenced area that's designated for dogs to be off-leash. No, not necessarily. So we're looking to make more off-leash areas, but right now these on-leash privileges, really, it's just a change in the rules. And so there's not any new facilities that necessarily need to go into place. We just want to get, community consensus over an area. And then it would just be a matter of changing the blue reflective signs that we have, because a lot of them, you'll go in there and most of them say no animals. So if a leash dog is allowed, we change that to leashed animals only or leashed dogs only. So yeah, for a leashed dog park, we're not building a fence. We're not adding any particular infrastructure in that regard. It's just more expanding the privilege there. Unless we wanted to put do the pilot program with the waste dog bag station.
Hi, Becca Munsingier. I had a question about the map that you were showing, and if we were to look at it again, would it kind of show the areas that are and are not, so we have a healthy discussion about where we might want to change and be a little bit more focused in our proposal?
Absolutely. That's like actually the exact reason why we created that map. So Zidel, if you can pull that back up real quick. It's one of the, and I'll show you a couple of tricks to it, because there was one thing I realized that was a little frustrating. So the map, the dog parks and the both on leash and off leash, they're not differentiated. They're both red dots. So that'll show all the ones. And if you really zoom out to look at the whole island, a lot of the more rural areas, Leeward Coast has none, which is remarkable. The Northeast Coast, very few on the North Shore. Yeah, you can kind of see the green dotted lines. So that'll be the jurisdictional boundaries for the neighborhood parks, or neighborhood boards, excuse me. And then the actual parks will be lined. There'll be little green spaces as well too, not all of them, but they'll be just outlined. So you have to kind of zoom in. You can kind of see the larger, that's the Aina Nature Preserve right up there, the larger kind of very oblong shaped park up there. Yeah, so that's your folks area. And one trick, so if you click on it, it's just going to show that it's neighborhood board number 2. But if you go over to the legend on the right and you click on neighborhood board, because you folks know your area, you can hide the neighborhood board boundaries, and that way you can click on the park location and it'll give you the name. So yeah, if you hover, go to the neighborhood board where it says neighborhood board on the right-hand side there. Yeah, hit the eyeball next to it. And then you can zoom in on the parks. Yeah, so that's like an off-leash area. If you zoom in a little bit, yeah, no problem. You can kind of see all the different shapes, and those are the parks. Yeah. Correct.
Is this on? Yeah, okay. And I saw that they've put fences on Mona Street and they've fixed up Mona Street quite a lot. So I'll say thank you to the council member later. So that would seem like a really good place because it needs some attention. And if people wanted to bring their dogs, then maybe, it's been fallow for so many years.
Well, what street is this again?
Oh, this is between Hind Yucca and Mona Street. That's the long, there we go. Mona Street, there.
Hey, go and click on it. Let's see what the name of it is. It's a slide area. Okay. So we have a couple of these. There's one in Palolo. There's one, I think, not Pacific Palisades, but Pearl City area. So these are interesting, where These are kind of undeveloped lands that were given over to the Parks Department. And so these may not have any facilities, and we, to be frank, don't maintain these as much as like a regular park. I think that's what Nehu Park right down below. But certainly if you folks wanted to have that be a more activated area, we could talk to our staff and see if they can go there on a more regular basis to maintain it so that it's open or more available. But typically in those areas, actually a lot of neighborhoods ask us to not maintain them because then it can kind of open it up to illegal activity if it's not regularly used. But if it's activated, certainly that's an area that you can use, the slide area.
Well, it was being used and they had to clean it out.
Okay.
So but if it was, if it was opened up, right now it's a thick forest.
Mhm.
So if it was opened up, so it was actually usable for people with dogs, it would be sort of reclaiming that land. I mean, it's quite a bit of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Related to that, just really quickly, is there concern though with the slide area? Oh, okay, about removing all of the trees and stuff, because don't they hold it in a slide area? I mean,
Oh, not the trees. No, I think she's talking more about like is there like a lot of elephant grass there? California grass?
Both.
I wouldn't, I think you're more talking about established parks though, that are cleared out and are being used for recreation. I mean, they're for recreational use and relaxation, like Nehu Park right there. That doesn't require having trees cut down and debris removed.
Oh yeah, by no means do we want to remove any trees just for this purpose. I mean, if a tree is damaged or, poses a safety concern, absolutely we'll remove it. But yes, these are exactly the kind of discussions that we want you folks to have. These are fantastic. Where if there's a slide area that's not really well maintained, if it's something that you want us to try and potentially maintain a little bit better, or if even there's a community group that'd be willing to do like an adopt a park agreement to help maintain it with the idea that it would be that kind of a leash dog area. Those are all fantastic ideas. Really, there's whatever you folks want to think of and bring our way, we're certainly open to considering it. There's a lot on the table right now for you folks to pitch our way.
go ahead.
I think my area, they'd be much more pleased if it was a fenced area for the dogs with water, trash cans and stuff like that versus just letting them run wild in a park. And would Wailupi School be a possible candidate?
The school, if there's an adjacent park, we could do that. The schools, we're actually in talks right now with the DOE, the Department of Education, to try and make their school facilities more available to us and the public for recreational purposes. Right now, it's kind of difficult for the public to be able to do that. You have to have like liability insurance. There's a permitting process. And so there's a concerted effort on our part to try and, because so many of our parks are adjacent to schools and actually, back in the day, they were one and the same, right? And so we're trying to be able to, and our facilities are so limited. There's such a limited, field space that we're looking to try and use the school facilities when ours are full up. But right now, if it is a school property, we don't have jurisdiction over that. So we can't say that would be a leash dog. We could make that a leash dog area.
So Nate, I don't know if everyone got to see the April 21st letter from Department of Parks and Recreation, but it lists potential parks that people, that residents would probably want to address in the resolution as to whether they'd like to extend leash dogs to be able to use those parks. And let me just read those for everybody. So the area city parks without dog privileges at this time are Kuli'ou'ou Beach Park, Kuli'ou'ou Neighborhood Park, Niu Valley Neighborhood Park, Kawaikui Beach Park, Nehu Neighborhood Park, Ainahaina Community Park, Wailupe Beach Park, and Wailaiki Neighborhood Park. So if everyone here and if you could just ask your neighbors, people especially in communities who don't have any representatives at this board right now, ask them which of these parks, and we'd be glad to send this letter out to whoever hasn't had access to it, which lists these parks. Ask them how they would feel about having leash dogs use these parks, and please send us their comments, because we need to put this all together in an informative letter by September. Now, so far I have one testimony from Sandra Correa. Sandra, are you here? Okay. She wrote, submitting a request for Kuli'ou'ou Neighborhood Park to officially allow leash dogs. I live near the park, and people from the neighborhood use it daily to walk their dogs and visit with one another. It's a great way for people of our neighborhood to get to know one another. I've made friends with many neighbors that way. Mahalo for your consideration. So remarks like that can really help, mention the park that you have feelings about, and let us know what you and your neighbors would like to see.
And Clarissa, by all means, the letter that we sent you folks, you can share that with everyone. Yeah, by all means. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's additional information. The letter is pretty lean. The news release that we put out 2 days later with the larger announcement, I'm sure if you folks saw the Star Advertiser article on it, that has a lot more information. So by all means, if you want to include a copy of the news release, I can send you folks a PDF copy of that so you can incorporate those two together. It has a bit more information. So if you want to send both of those out to your constituents to kind of get their input, more than happy to provide those for you folks.
Well, thank you for coming to speak to us tonight, and I guess you'll be hearing, okay, but you will be hearing more from us. We have a question for you from Sherry
Yes.
Spangler.
Hi,
Go
I
ahead,
just
Sherry.
wanted you to know also that I got on Zoom, my car's doing funny things, so I'm Zooming from home, and I got at 6:50 into the
Oh.
meeting. Just to let you know. I wanted to make some comments. I love the idea of dogs being allowed in parks, personally, but I've been following this issue for decades from the Kahala Neighborhood Board and out in Hawaii Kai, and I've seen how the people love their dog parks. But I also read on Nextdoor Laukahi an extensive coverage on people's feelings on this, and lots of them, lots also want it, but lots are also very concerned about people who don't manage their dogs fighting, and people not picking up after their dogs. So I wanted to put that in, even though my inkling is to support the idea, but I want to somehow, how can we give coverage to the people who have been talking extensively on Nextdoor Laukahi, a lot of them against it, a lot of them, what they did say as a solution was to put in the city park a partial enclosed dog park. That's what they thought should happen. So I don't really know what the answer is, but there's a lot of concern about unleashed dogs and unpicked up the kind. So I just had to say it, even though I
No.
like it. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, that is a very big concern. I think for the longest time, what happened was, with any type of user group that in our parks, there's always bad apples. Whether it's pickleball, basketball, volleyball, there's the vast majority of people are doing it respectfully and having a good time with their friends and family. But there are people who don't do it properly, who aren't respectful to other park users. And for the longest time, that has happened with dog users, right? Where you see the mess that is left behind by them. So one thing that we're looking at doing as well is to try and have some signage and to also encourage the broader community to, all work together to try and address that issue. People, when they walk their dogs, they have dog waste bags. So if they see dog waste on the ground, pick it up. It may not be your dog's, but it's going to reflect poorly on the entire community. So it's this kind of messaging that we're hoping to incorporate later on when we hopefully in September, the fall time, have a bit more to report when it comes to extending these on-leash privileges. So yeah, by all means, we're looking to try and change the culture a little bit so that people are more accountable for picking up after their animals and then also keeping them on leash or, knowing their animals really, if they're going to be triggered by certain instances or react poorly to other dogs.
Sherry, I don't know if you if you were able to connect in time, but we need a resolution by September to let the Department of Parks and Recreation know what we want. Could you possibly keep tabs from people you talk to? Maybe have some kind of table which has the headings park name, for leash dogs, against leash dogs, and what people's concerns are, and that would really help us.
What, okay, am I still talking? Okay. What I did do is I saved the discussion on next door Laukahi, the extensive, what is Cowie?
I don't know. Just keep talking.
Cowie's pointing around.
What about you?
Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, so anyway, all I know is I saved the discussion on next door Laukahi. I wanted to make sure that those people had their concerns, dealt with. I like the idea myself, but their idea was to have the enclosed park within a city park. And, I don't have except for that, I know that the Kahala Neighborhood Board for decades now, like 30 years, people have been complaining about unleashed dogs on the beach at Kahala and Kahala Beach Park. And very dangerous dogs and dog fights. So, that's not our board, but those people, I've heard their concerns. So I don't know what to say about it. I know how I feel. I like the idea, but I want to know that the public is truly covered on this.
Okay, well, can you just keep tabs on that?
Yes, I
On what
will.
you-
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
Sure. Yeah. And by all means, feel free to email me any other questions you folks have.
Okay, great.
Thanks. Thank you, folks.
Welcome, you two who just came in, and I'm sorry you got wet. When you have a chance, please sign in, and we'd be glad to have you participate in the meeting if you want to. Okay, continuing with board business. Next is formation of a public neighborhood board to public relations committee. So that is an option for enabling those members who would like to help with getting the word out about our business to do so without having to wait until our monthly meetings. I learned from our neighborhood assistant, Zoidel, that if we have 3 people or less, like Mecca, I want to thank you for really for you and Frank Fuji spearheading this effort and being willing to work on our Facebook page. We can discuss this outside of the meetings without filing formal agenda notices and having to follow some of the strict sunshine law requirements. So let's get together afterwards and talk about what we can do. But thanks again so much for helping us with that.
No, I was just gonna say, if anybody has any input as well for the flyer that we put out, I mean, it's just to help. So there wasn't anything formal about it, but I have copies if you want to look at it. And yeah, so good. I'm glad to hear it's not as structured as this.
Okay, we haven't forgotten and want to make it official. Okay, we are now in the section where our community is invited to bring up concerns that they have that are not on our agenda. I'd like to ask those who do want to bring up something to elevate it to the level of our legislative representatives and the organization, city and state organizations, to please try to summarize your concern in 2 minutes, and that will give everyone a chance to have their say in the time that we have. So does anyone here have any concerns that they would like to raise? Yes, please come up to the mic. The standing mic here in the middle of the room. Actually, it would be better if you could go up to the standing mic, and then we can see you on the camera a little better, and everyone else can see you as well. Hello, please introduce yourself.
Aloha, I'm Phil Eric. I'm a Lahaina resident. Brought this up before, and partial kind of ties into Nate's Parks and Recreation, but the continuing issue insofar as the county beach parks and the homeless issue. Nate, to your point earlier, insofar as the dog thing, some of the homeless that are kind of claiming that's their own kuleana are using dogs as a defensive measure, if you will. And the parks are not being cleared out at the closure hours. That was brought up last meeting to the county police. So specifically, Wailupi Beach Park. Secondarily would be Kauai Park. Third would be Kuli'ou'ou, the homeless issue, and they're not, with the dogs and they're not leaving. And then outside of our jurisdiction would be Kahala, which was articulated by the last speaker.
Sir, what kind of response did you get from the police when you reported these problems?
It's just noted, and it's part of the jurisdiction as far as the park's closure at 10 o'clock, and 10:30 they go through there. But on foot, the homeless come back, and they have the dogs that they use for personal protection, guard dogs, and what have you. So all you got to do is look across the street, right over here, Wailupi Beach Park. And look over there right now by the restrooms.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for bringing that up.
Okay.
That's scary.
Driving
not
by,
right.
all you got to do is look towards the Mackay side. They're there every day, every night.
Okay.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Come on up, Kevin. Do you have a solution to this problem?
Not really. Yeah,
Plant thorn hedges around it. What is that kind of hedge called that they have around?
natal plum bougainvillea, but
Yeah.
in that my team are the people that trim them. We don't actually like thorny
Oh.
plants because it can be painful. And my old age, my skin I'm not as tough as it used to be. So the skin disappears and the thorns remain. So there are some downsides. I'm not sure if y'all get my emails that I send out. I always appreciate kind of a little feedback, such as this is a crazy idea, or I understand your concern. The recent email I shared was, I'm noticing a change in the community's attitude about public beaches and public hiking trails. And what I mean by that is Pico Lagoon or Pico Drive is following Lanikai's lead and putting up cones on the public easement next to the road, which is where the beachgoers generally park. So generally, I think of a public road as a place where I can park. It's not owned by the residents that's, I guess, next to the road. And so there are a lot of cones preventing people from parking and using the public access to the beach. I'm also concerned that House Street, that I think we all were behind as far as purchasing the private property at the end of House Street. I recall the point was to ensure public access to the public hiking trail. I'm surprised that there's 6-foot tall cow grass at the beginning of the trail, but immediate beyond that, it's being well maintained. So I don't know, it's not the kind of aloha spirit that I remember the board being promoting, where we would come after homeowners that put rocks on the beach or planted rocks on the beach or prevented parking or put obstacles. So I'm not sure if there's a change in attitude where now we're kind of saying this is our private public street and we don't want any, people coming. So it's strange. So if I could get some feedback on the email I sent back, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for your emails. I apologize for not responding. I also appreciate the photo you sent that there was not, in fact, footer when they were building the walls to the stream. You had photo evidence that they weren't installing. So both of those, I think, were really important. What does anyone know what we do in that type of situation? Because I agree, public access should be public access. Right. Do you call the police Do you move the cones? What is the recourse for that? Anybody know?
Janine, do you know?
Well,
Hello, Janine.
for Pico, we all know the former chief of police lives there. So he could take care of it if he wanted to, but he doesn't because he lives there. He doesn't want people parking on his road. So when we've gone through this before, we call the police, and then the police write tickets for every single car on that road because they get upset that they have to come out and do that. So you better be damn sure that every car is parked where they should be because they will go and ticket every single car on that street, which is why we don't ever do that, because then the homeowners get upset at us. So it's been like this. It's been a situation for decades, but I don't know what else to do. You know, now House Street is a different matter. That I know personally, I've been through there. It's it should not be like that. The people that are taking care of that place are not, I suppose, are not supposed to be doing that. So I don't know what's happened to that. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kevin.
In a little defense for Boise Correa, who is a former board member and former chief of police, one of the places I do park on Pico Drive is actually in front of his house. There are no cones in front of his house. So anyway, so there's a parking spot there.
It's my understanding that the entrance to the Wailupe Loop Trail is maintained by volunteers. I don't think that there's any official maintenance by it by city and county. So anyone could cut that grass down if they wanted to. Okay. Enough said. Any other concerns on the part of any residents here? Okay. We will move on now to our official reports. First, representative for Congressman Ed Case. Do we have a representative? Julia, are you here? Okay, nobody there. Okay, representative for Mayor Rick Blangiardi. Dita, are you here? Oh, Mayor. Okay, we have a follow-up from the mayor relating to, let's see, it's DTS, Department of Transportation, request for a trash can at the bus stop. Kalani Ole Highway and Pico Drive. So Department of Transportation Chair? Yeah, Casey is requesting installing a trash can at the bus stop. And if Casey's here, he can verify that. Oh, okay, there was a request. And then Department of Transportation submitted a request to Department of Facilities Management for a trash receptacle to be installed at the bus stop on Kalani Ole Highway and Pico Drive. Okay, so it's coming, in other words. All right. Next, representative for Governor Josh Green, Dave Day, is at a conference and unable to join us. Okay, so I'd like to go on to Adam Du, who is the representative for City Council Chair Tommy Waters. Hey, Adam, are you there? Adam has a nice informational presentation to give us about city departments.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. First I'd like to introduce City Council Chair Tommy Waters. He's online. I'll let him go ahead first. Thank you.
Aloha, Chair and members of the board, and thank you, Adam, I'll be brief and then I'll turn the floor over to Adam. But I first wanted to start off with acknowledging and thanking Director Jean Albano of the Department of Facilities Maintenance, who came out to Aina Haina to view our streams with board members and members of the community. You know, Jean was very gracious, but also, you know, he took our comments seriously, and he got his team down there to clean the stream. I think we can do better, and Gene knows that, and I think he's willing to work with the community to ensure that that stream maintains. The stream maintenance is ongoing, but also in places where we could actually do better and not just take it all the way down to the ground. Actually, is something that we can do. Couple other things that I wanted to talk about, namely sewer fees and landfills. But before I get to that, you know, as far as the homeless issue in the parks, we got a new homeless administrator. And I just met with him yesterday, and I'll follow up with him to talk about enforcement of the park closures in our district, as well as HPD. We can make a request of HPD to go down there instead of just once at 10:30, go back twice or three times. Because as you know, as the community member stated, folks will leave when the police are there and then come right back. So I'll get on top of that and ask the police department to do multiple rides through there. As far as Pico Drive, you know, I'll contact DPP because DPP can actually cite the homeowner for doing that. As was mentioned, just like in Lanikai, you're denying beach access by putting plants or rocks on that property. And that property belongs to the city. It belongs to everybody, not the homeowner. So I'll follow up and make a request of DPP and get an inspector out there. I'll also talk to DTS, Department of Transportation Services, to get someone out there as well. Maybe we could do a walkthrough again with the board members and the constituent who brought that up, because it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to actually go out there and see it for ourselves. So happy to organize that with you folks. But I did want to spend a little bit of time talking about sewer fees. You know, because there was a settlement, a court settlement with the EPA, as well as a couple other groups here in Hawaii. It mandates that we upgrade our sewer treatment plants to secondary treatment. And that's going to be really, really expensive, anywhere from 1.8 to 2.8 billion dollars. And right now it's being recommended by the Department of Environmental Services that the ratepayers bear the burden of the entire upgrade. And, you know, with the cost of living so high here in Hawaii, everything's going up from food to electricity. We have the highest rents in the nation. What I'm proposing is that we take money in two areas. One is the chronically funded vacant positions. There's about $100 million that we lapse every year in general fund money, where we fund these positions and they go unfilled. So I want to take a portion of that and put it into the sewer fund to offset the increases. By the way, the increases over 10 years are going to be 100%. So this isn't including your water bill. It's on the same bill. If you notice, half of it's water, half of it is sewer. Our water bill is going up, as you know. The Department of Board of Water Supply is pretty good about telling us about that. But the sewer fee will go up as well, double in 10 years. So if you're currently paying $150, that's going to be $300. If you're currently paying $300, it's going to be $600. So to me, that's just way too much. So I'm trying to get creative and figure out ways that we could lower that fee. And one of the ways is using some of the money from the vacant position fund. The other thing is the city gets a portion of the TAT, you know, the tax on the hotel rooms. The city gets a portion of that. I want to dedicate perhaps 50% of the TAT to the sewer fund. That amounts to about $50 million. And that'll make a huge dent in all of our sewer fees. The other idea, though, is using that cash, again, $50 million, rather than issuing bonds, which is like a loan, we use cash to pay for this, a lot of the upgrades. And just like a credit card, if you think about it like a credit card, over time, you're paying interest on this credit card. And if you were to pay for an item with cash, you don't have to pay interest on it. So that's what I'm proposing that the department do, is utilize the cash, pay for these upgrades, and therefore you don't have to pay the interest. And we can save a lot of money there. The other thing is landfill. Us at the council, we're very conscious of what the city wants to do is put the new landfill over an aquifer. I just think that's a bad idea. We've passed a resolution saying we're not going to support it. And ultimately, if they persist in wanting to put the landfill over an aquifer, they got to come to the city council for funding. And whenever I've asked how much that costs, they can't tell me how much it's going to cost. But it shouldn't be over an aquifer. You know, at one time, Cocoa Head Crater was on the list of possible landfill sites, and we don't want that either. That would totally disrupt East Honolulu with all the trucks driving down Kalani on the Ole Highway. Traffic is bad enough, so I'm keeping an eye on that, and we'll be sure to keep you folks informed about that as well. But I'm open for questions, and also I know Adam does have a presentation on the various departments that he's happy to give.
Yes, please go ahead.
So with the redistribution of the transient accommodation tax, what would be defunded by using 50% of that?
Oh, great question. Honestly, that's where I turn to the Budget and Fiscal Services Director. The budget this year is going up from 3.4 billion to 3.7 billion. And I'm trying to figure out exactly what that additional money is going towards. We've been asking a lot of questions, and oftentimes it's baked into the budget. Sometimes it's hard to find out. But certainly we don't want to affect core services, police, fire, ambulance. You want to make sure you can flush your toilet. I think that's key. We want to make sure that the effluent going out into the ocean is clean as well, right? That's what makes Hawaii special. But I'm having a meeting with the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services tomorrow, and that's exactly on my list of questions. Now, what would this take care of, or what would it defund? Good question. At this point, I don't know.
I just like to take get my voice back. Thank you, Tommy, for going on our Wailupi stream here, taking the time with you and Adam Du and Jean. Chairman was there, but you took the time, and we really appreciate it because, as you recall, this whole library was closed for 1 year on our last flood. So thank you very much for taking the time. We sure appreciate it.
I actually enjoyed it very much, and let's do more of these. In fact, you know what I want to do is earlier tonight we were talking about those vacant lots on Mona Street. Can we get a group of people together and go visit that? And by the way, thank you to Nate Sirota for coming down. Let's get Nate out there with us. He's really good about working with the community. I'd love to see a dog park there as well, but it needs to be fenced, as someone mentioned earlier. The other thing is, as far as dog parks are concerned, if this board can identify areas, I'd love to work with you folks and perhaps get the money in the budget to put the fence up and make sure it's maintained.
Thank you very much, Chair Waters. It's really wonderful to have you represent our community, and we thank you for all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Appreciate it very much.
I don't see any other questions for you, sir.
Okay, I'll stay on for the rest of the meeting, but can I turn it over to Adam for his presentation?
Oh, okay. One more. I'm sorry. I didn't see a hand up on our WebEx screen. Janine Johnson has a question for you.
Oh, sure.
Hi, aloha. I was just wondering, we could get more money if we didn't not use the fines for the transient vacation rentals. All that money went nowhere because they constantly forgive them, which means that it's just the cost of doing business, you know, the slap on the wrist. So we need to hold these people accountable, and we can use that money for this. And then also, if we can finally put through the residential A property or whatever that is, where people who have no, you know, second homes and they're not living in there and they're not renting them out, please tax them more, make them pay for it. You know, I mean, we gotta be creative, and I thank you for that you're always looking for ways to do that, but it's like we almost get there and then we don't. So please try again.
No,
Thank
aloha,
you.
Janine. Good to see you. And thank you for those comments. So on the vacant home tax, I got 4 votes. I need one more. We're very, very close. And basically, well, I mentioned earlier that, our median home price is now $1.1 million. You'd be amazed how many people who just come here, invest, and then leave the home vacant. And where their home state or their home city, where the property tax is double or triple what they're paying here, to them, it's a windfall for them. So yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm close. We need one more vote. As far as the short-term rentals and getting the fines, I'm happy to report that DPP and Corporation Council came to the City Council asking for permission to what's it called? Put a lien on the property. It has to go through court, but that's the first time they ever did it. Put a lien on a property that was doing illegal short-term rentals and not paying their fines. So I'm watching that very closely, and if that's successful, hopefully it has a deterrent effect on all the illegal short-term rentals. Interestingly, though, that vacant homes tax, it's a different tax category. I think it's going to force a lot of the short-term rentals to come out of the closet and either say they're short-term rentals or they're empty homes. They're going to rather go short-term rentals because it's a lower tax than the empty homes tax.
Sir, we have one more question for you from Sherry
Sure.
Spankler. Sherry,
Hi,
go
good
ahead.
evening. Thank you, Councilman Tommy Waters, for being here. I wondered if you were aware, or anyone in your office, next door Laukahi is alive with people asking questions about the house that's being built on the property next to the canal across from the Ainahaina Shopping Center. It looks like a monolithic motel. Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, in fact, it came up during our tour of Guadalupe Stream. So I put in a riser to DPP, and we're asking to see, and I've done this before throughout the district, but asking for the plans, and I review them myself and my staff does to see if they comply with all the laws that are on the books. Because that thing looks like it's 3 stories, right? And I asked myself just this weekend as I drove by it, how the heck did they get 3 stories? But yes, we're aware of it, and we're working with DPP and looking at it.
And you can have Adam report back to us what you find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
That's it for you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Oh, no. So Adele can see things that I don't. One more question or comment from Janine Johnson. Oh, Kimmy. Okay. Kimmy, go ahead. Hello, Kimmy, unmute yourself. Okay, guess not. Okay, we're ready for Adam.
Okay, is it okay if I share my screen? There we go. Can you guys see okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great. So you guys had asked for a short presentation on the city departments. And first I wanted to show how exactly the city council fits in on with all of this. So the city council is the lawmaking body of the city and determines the policies and programs. How do I go to my next slide? Here we go. So the city council duties, so they enact ordinances and adopt resolutions. So before an ordinance becomes law, will be a bill. You will often hear me reporting on the bills that we are working on. We also adopt the city's annual budget and making sure that it is balanced, including setting the annual real property tax rate. The city also adopts, or the city council also adopts the city's general plans and development plans. For example, the East Honolulu Sustainable Communities Plan, as well as confirm city departments heads, such as Director Gina Albano. So the city council would fall under the legislative branch, which we just discussed, is the policy branch. Under the city council, there's also the city clerk, the city auditor, and the Office of Council Services. And our check and balance is the executive branch. So the legislative branch, the city council, do the policies, and the executive branch implements the policies. So in the executive branch, there's the mayor, the office of managing director, and then all of the departments underneath it. This is a much more simplified version of it. But here's a greater, larger view of all of the city's 26 departments. For example, we have a new Department of Ocean Safety. You also see the Neighborhood Commission Office, as well as the Royal Hawaiian Band, which is, I believe, the only full-time municipal band in the country, which I think is pretty cool. I'll now talk a little bit about some more departments more specifically. I'll skip over ones that I think you probably know what they do, like fire, police, DTS, but I'll try to talk about departments that deal with a lot of your concerns. So I'll start off with Department of Facility Maintenance, DFM. As you guys all met Director Albano. So his department really encompasses a lot of things. I think he has a very, very challenging job. So DFM maintains our city roads, bridges, streams. That also includes the stream mouths, you know, so sometimes our streams in Kuli'ou'ou and East Honolulu, it doesn't flow freely from the stream to the ocean, and DFM will have to go in there and manually open up these mouths. When you see city workers do that, that will be DFM. They also support HPD and our outreach services when doing homeless enforcements, for example, in our city parks and sidewalks. That'd be their stored property ordinance SPO and sidewalk nuisance SNO teams. If you guys learn anything from this quick presentation, DFM roads at honolulu.gov. That's probably one of the most powerful email addresses that you guys can have. They are so responsive. They will respond back to your emails, and it's very, very quick. Departments of Parks and Rec. So you have a lot of parks in your district. That also includes beach parks. DPR is also looks after the comfort stations in these parks. Sorry if I missed the park. I made this PowerPoint really quickly. But something for you guys to know, a division within DPR is DUF, the Division of Urban Forestry. So they are responsible for the maintenance of all of the city trees that are along city streets and parks. So those trees that are between the city street and the city sidewalk, those trees, the city is responsible for maintaining those trees. So if you think the city DUF tries to go around about every 2 years to prune these trees, but sometimes if you have a really healthy tree and you think it needs maintenance, and DUF hasn't gotten to it yet, you can contact DUF directly, or of course you can always contact me or direct it Dita Holyfield, or also I'll talk later about the 311 app. The Department Environmental Services. This is probably what Tommy will tell you, probably one of the most challenging departments, ones that he just talked about. So they're in charge of our sewer, trash. If you guys ever need a bulky pickup from your house, you would go online or call E&B and they would do it. This is a photo of our team. We toured the H Power plant as well as the Waimanalo Gulch. It's pretty interesting. This is what our landfill looks like. I did also want to include the Department of Enterprise Services, DES, as your mayor's representative, Director Holyfield. She's the director of DES. So DES operates and maintains Blaisdell, the Waikiki Shell, the zoo, and our 6 municipal golf courses. DES is the only revenue generating department in our city. This was a tour of the Blaisdell Arena, as Chair Waters has included in the budget money for a new basketball court. So hopefully we could reopen state tournament basketball and possibly volleyball games at the Blaisdell. Department of Customer Services. So you might most be familiar with them when it comes to the DMV when you're renewing your driver's license. But they also hold a lot of our city contracts. For example, our dog spay and neuter program and our TNRM programs with the partnership with the Hawaiian Humane Society. I believe the council funds them with about $8 million a year. For example, you also might be familiar with the Hawaii Kai Park and Ride and the feral cat colony over there. We're working with CSD and DTS on a partnership with the Hawaiian Humane Society to address the cats over there. They also hold things like our abandoned and derelict vehicle contracts. So when the neighborhood board reports an abandoned vehicle to us or the city, that would go to CSD as well as HPA. CSD also, excuse me, holds our contract for our feral chickens. So if you observe a feral chicken on city property, the city will remove the feral chicken or trap them. However, if it's on state land, for example, the library, the State Department would be in charge or responsible for removing those chickens. The city does also help private property owners. So the city council gives fund to help subsidize a part of the cost. If a private property owner has feral chickens on their property, that contract is with Sandwich Tiles, and you can call them or contact them on their website. And lastly, the Department of Customer Services, they
You need to some.
are in charge of running our Honolulu 311 app, which is how we report our city issues. So all that stuff that we discussed, you can submit all of those concerns through the app. It's really good. I talked about it before, but it's worth mentioning again. You can take a photo, it geotags it, you'll know exactly where it goes. It goes directly to the department instead of, if you report it to me or Dita, it has to go through many people before it gets to the department. And you can get real-time updates from the department, and you can also submit reports anonymously if that's something you're concerned about. And with that, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have a more detailed explanation of all of the departments. I'll email that to you guys as well. And I just wanted to include this great photo that we took with Director Albano and your member Bill and Chair Burkert and community member Memo on our site visit the other week to look at the stream. So, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. That was a lot to say. And do you have some water handy? You need wet your whistle. Sorry, are you okay? Or are you getting sick?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had you guys muted. What was that?
Oh,
Chair?
okay. No, drink your water.
Oh,
We have a question for Council Chair Waters anyway. So please rest your voice for a minute. Chair Waters, we have a question from Kimmy, one of our community members. Kimmy, are you able to get on now? Kimmy, or you're on now. Oh, we can't see her note either. Sorry. What?
Chair, if it's the
Kimmy's reading what Kimmy wrote in the chat. Regarding the vacant home tax, how will this affect local residents who inherited homes from their parents? The future is really uncertain for us whether our kids will stay in mainland or come back home. I would like to keep the home vacant for them. We are renting the homes now, but I am thinking about the future and how this may affect us.
So if you have a great question, if you have a homeowner's exemption, meaning you're a local person, and you have one empty home, that's exempt. And if you rent it out, even better. Because the whole idea is to turn it from an empty home into an occupied home, either occupied by a renter or occupied by a buyer. But there's a lot of testimony, especially from realtors, who are upset about that. So we actually included an exemption. So we took into account that some local families have a beach home, or like your situation, Kim, you have inherited a home. You're allowed one. It's still going to fall under the residential A category, as you probably know, but they won't fall under the empty homes category. I call that the Kuroda Amendment. Mr. Kuroda came and testified against the bill. And he pointed out, and we had a lot of testimony for people who had second homes. Actually, you'd be amazed how many people have second homes. The census thinks it's about 18,000 empty homes. The Ernst and Young study came out with probably around 11,000, 8 to 11,000. But I'm just thinking if you could, and you are renting it out, that's great. But you would be exempt. If you have two homes though that are empty, that's a problem.
Thank you.
She did. If further from Kimmy, so if we have more than one, it will fall into the empty homes. We have 5 grandkids. They will use them eventually.
The 5 empty homes?
No.
So
So we have more than one, it will, so it's a question. So if we have more than one, it will fall into the empty homes question mark?
So presumably, if you have one home and you live there, you have a homeowner's exemption, right? So it doesn't apply to that home. Then if you have a second home, let's just say it's a beach house in Mokuleia. Because you have a homeowner exemption on the home you live in, that second home would be exempt. But if you had a third home that sits empty, the tax would apply to that home. But again, the key is that you live here and that you have a homeowner's exemption on one of your homes. That's how we can differentiate between a local resident and someone who's an outsider investing, who's not contributing to the community.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
Well, really appreciate what you taught us tonight, Chair Waters and Adam. And please stay tuned. We're going to go ahead and move on with our reports, but I imagine that questions will still trickle in for you both.
No problem.
Thank you again.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, our next report is from Senator Stanley Chang. Do we have a representative for Senator Chang? Okay, we don't see one. Do we have a representative for Representative Mark Hashem? Not seeing one. Okay. Next is Hawaii Department of Transportation, Casey Abe. Hello, Casey.
Good evening, Chair. Can you see my screen? Okay, good evening, Chair Burkett and members of the Kuli'ou'ou-Kalani Neighborhood Board. Casey Auer from the State DOT Highways Division. At last month's meeting, there was a concern about a homeless encampment under the Waialae Nui Stream Bridge located adjacent to the Waialae Avenue on-ramp traveling towards Kalani Island Highway eastbound. Our Deputy Director for Highways, Mr. Robin Shishido, had our homeless coordinator remove the encampment and the trash. But unfortunately, during my quick field investigation this morning, I noticed another homeless encampment has returned. I informed Robin, and who will be having our homeless coordinator address the problem. On Monday, April 21st, I received an email and picture from board member Spangler, who received an email from constituent Daniel Suzuki about some kind of loose plate at the intersection of Waialae Street that rattles every time a car goes over it, resulting in a horrible noise that keeps him up at night. After doing a field investigation and working on our district maintenance, we realized the problem was the missing handhold cover that belonged to the Board of Water Supply. Our maintenance staff contacted BWS, and on Wednesday, April 23rd, I received an email from Daniel saying that the noise has disappeared since the replacement of the cover was installed. During the February meeting, I mentioned I was working with our maintenance crew on replacing the damaged highway lighting standards near Anali'i Street and Paeku Place intersection. I'm glad to report that damaged highway lighting has been repaired. I'd like to thank Board Member Spangler for working with the homeowners at the corner of Waikui and Waialae Street for trimming back their trees. During a field investigation last month, I noticed a damaged sign based on Kalani Highway westbound. As you approach Kalani Kuli'ou'ou-Kalani High School, which could be a tripping hazard for high school students walking towards the bus stop near Laukahi Street. I'm glad to report our maintenance crew removed the hazard base during my recent field investigation. At last month's meeting, I mentioned there was an old bed mattress in the drainage canal near Wailupi Beach Park. Our maintenance crew removed the old mattress, but during my field investigation, I realized the canal had a lot of overgrowth. So I'm working with our maintenance crew on clearing the overgrowth before the start of the hurricane season. I noticed the graffiti artists are still out there, so I'll work with our maintenance crew on painting over or removing their artwork. I also noticed the missing covers for some of our pedestrian push button pedestals, or the wrong cover was installed. I'll have our maintenance staff install the correct covers so the post will not become a trash can. And finally, I'll have our maintenance crew repair the damaged utility box, cutting back the overgrowth from private property before an accident occurs, and have our maintenance crew clean up the trash at the Pico Drive bus stop while we wait for the city to install the new trash can. This concludes my report. I can take any questions at this time.
Hey, Casey, you deserve a big hand for all those things that you checked out and had and remedy. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any additional things to report to Casey or questions to ask him? Bill, did you say something? Oh. What? Okay, question for you from Sherry Spangler. Go ahead, Sherry.
Hi, Casey. Thank you for all the good work. About Daniel and that board of water, that was going on for weeks. And he came to me and the neighborhood was very upset about it. So thank you for getting the board of water supply on that. And I wanted to know, did you get my email yesterday about the DOT work, the State Department of Transportation? That were at the corners of Kalani Iki, NY at all four corners, looking around, and then they walked down the highway going Cocoa Head direction. And we know that they were there because people told me Kalani Iki wanted to know why they were there, because they sprayed a signal in the middle of the Kalani Iki Road on the mountainside. And we just wanted to know what they were doing there yesterday. They were in a State Department of Transportation truck. That's how we know they were DOT. And we wanted to know if you knew about it.
Yeah, I didn't get your email. Could you try resend it? I guess.
Okay, we sent it yesterday.
You sent it yesterday. I didn't see it, so maybe you can resend it to me.
We can just talk off the neighborhood board. We can just find out, because people in Kalani Iki asked me about it, and then some people in my neighborhood asked, and we saw the truck parked outside our homes on the golf course side. So that's how we know it was a DOT truck. But they were just inspecting, like they were, it's like they were doing an Egyptian dig. They were like down on their hands and knees. I don't know what they were doing. So anyway, we'd be very interested. The community is interested to know what they were up to, why they were looking, what they were looking for. Okay.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll check my email again. If I can't find your email, I'll email you to resend it.
Okay. By the way, that stream, that bridge, Wailanui Bridge, that's Kapakahi Stream, the homeless are in there all the time. So people have to go back. Whoever is managing that area has to go back constantly, because they live there at night. Then they come out at daytime and go underneath the viaduct across Massaggio's and the Aloha Mart, between those two areas. And they've killed all the trees by defecating on them, and they leave trash. So it's quite a problem for Kahala. It's on the cusp of Kahala Neighborhood Board area and Kalani Iki Kuli'ou'ou. So it's an issue, those guys. Then they walk around in the middle of the road. It's very dangerous.
Okay, I'll let our administration know. Maybe we have to have our homeless coordinator do a weekly inspection of these areas.
Yeah,
sure
it's going to be needed, because that's their home. That's how they like to be. Yeah. So thank you so much for everything.
Sure.
Thank you, Sherry. Any other questions for Casey? Okay, thank you, Casey. We're going to move ahead to our presentations. First, I'd like to introduce our coconut rhinoceros beetle experts. Are you online or you're in person? Okay.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi.
So I would like
Hi,
to, hi, I would like to just share my screen. I have a short presentation.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to us again. What? Yep. So coconut rhinoceros beetle has appeared in Aina Haina and probably everywhere else by now. I don't know. Is Kuli'ou'ou in having the presence of coconut rhinoceros beetle or New Valley? I don't know. We've seen a shell from one of them or exoskeleton from one of them in our backyard, and we're along the stream on Wailupe stream. So we really appreciate learning what we as a community and as individuals can do to reduce the spread of this pest.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we'll go a little bit more. I was at the at a neighborhood board meeting, I think about a year ago. So I'm gonna go over kind of the background quickly and go more into detail on the updates. So again, my name is Sana. I'm the outreach associate for the coconut rhinoceros beetle response. And just a quick, because sometimes people get our program a little confused. So we started off as an emergency response program when the beetle was first found on Oahu in 2013. And we are mostly funded federally by USDA, and we are administered through UH. And because of our funding, we are unfortunately not able to go out everywhere on Oahu where there's an infestation because of the widespread. And our field crew is at the moment working mostly of containment. So they're doing treatments on ports of exit to minimize the spread off of Oahu. They can also help with eradication efforts on neighboring island, mostly on Big Island at this point. And then for the rest of the island or for the rest of Oahu, we're here to help with guidance and recommendations. So for you who are not familiar, the coconut rhinoceros beetle is an invasive beetle because it feeds mostly on our palm trees. So their favorite foods are coconut palms, royal palm, date, and fan palms. But if those are not available, they can go for things like banana, sugarcane, hala. Those are a few things we've seen here on Oahu in heavily infested areas. We know from other parts of the Pacific where it's also invasive too, that they can also feed on kalo, sago palms, pineapple, and even some tree ferns. So they have a wide range of food sources, but those secondaries really when there's nothing else available. So the adult beetles are this on the left side, this big black 2-inch beetle with a horn. It's always going to be about 2 inches. If it's less than an inch or even less than an inch and a half, it's probably a different kind of beetle. There are some lookalikes out there. And then the adults are the ones that are feeding on our palm trees. And then we have the larvae, which is on the right side. It's this white larvae that can get up to 4 inches. And the larvae is living mostly on the ground in any decaying plant material. We call that breeding material. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on what that breeding material is, but any decaying plant material is what the larvae can live in. So the adults are the ones that are feeding on the trees, and they're not spending their whole life in the same tree. They're going to go from one tree, and then they're going to go and find a breeding site where they're going to lay their eggs. And then the egg is going to develop through 3 different larval instars before they pupate and turn into the adults. So this life cycle is really important to take note of because they spend so much time in their breeding material. it takes them about 4, 5, 6 months to go from egg through all the different larval instars and pupate before they emerge as an adult. And then when they're adults, they go between palm trees and breeding material. So they spend a lot of time in breeding material. And this is the kind of damage that they create. So this is on coconut trees. They, no matter what tree they're feeding on, they're always gonna bore in and they feed on the juices of the palm. So they're always gonna leave these 2-inch boreholes about the size of their body that you see on the left side. And then on coconut, when the fronds grow out, so they're actually boring into the fronds before the fronds emerge. And then when they emerge, they're going to have these V cuts. And then ultimately, what we're starting to see in heavily infested areas such as Central and West Oahu, this a lot of feeding events can lead to the palms dying. And then for breeding material, again, I mentioned any decaying plant material, but that can be things like mulch, compost, green waste, decaying logs, even decaying dead trees. So if the beetle is killing a tree, when that starts to decompose, that can become breeding material. And then what we're starting to see more and more of lately is potting mix and potted plants. So how they move to new areas, they can fly. They can fly about 2 miles, we think, but they're not going to fly that far if they have everything they need close by. So they're not really adventurous. They're going to stay close if they can. The widespread we've been seeing, so these two maps are showing just the first few years, the first 4 or 5 years of when the beetles first showed up. It was very localized into like the Pearl Harbor. They were first found close to the airport, Mamala Bay Golf Course. And then the first 5 years, they were contained mostly in the Pearl Harbor watershed. Then when they start spreading, the widespread we saw the next 4 years or so was mostly due to human vectors moving infested materials, so moving breeding materials, mulch and compost and things like that. The eggs and the larvae start off really, really tiny, so they're really easy to accidentally transport. So this is the situation now on Oahu. These are trap finds from the last 6 months. We are seeing a widespread. We still see the most beetle in Central West Oahu and the North Shore. That's also where we see the most damage. But really, all of the island at this point has some sort of population of beetles. Where we don't see a whole lot of beetles is so far as in town, and that's mostly likely due to there's not a lot of breeding material. There are tons of palms, but not a lot of places for them to breed and the larvae to develop. So for your area, I did take a snapshot of the trap catches from since the program basically started. And the first find in this area was in 2023. But we've been seeing a big increase this year. So the majority of these catches, so every single red little dot is a trap that caught beetles. And then the number corresponds to how many beetles were found in the trap. So the majority of these beetles were found in 2025. And then, so really what you can do to minimize the spread and minimize the population and damage from the beetles is, first of all, don't transport any CRB material. So don't bring in any mulch and compost from heavily infested areas. Try to source it as local as possible. Even though this might look like you have a lot of beetles in this area, you really don't compared to central Oahu and west side. So I mentioned like potting mix and potting soil. Potted plants can be breeding material. So really try to source that material as close as possible. The material, especially the garden soil bags, they get infested when they're stored outside overnight in an infested area. So the beetles are night active and can bore in through that plastic. So just really, when you buy that material, really inspect it before you purchase it. And then manage green waste. So if you have any green waste on your property, really try to minimize it, remove it if possible. And then store anything that you need to have. Like if you garden, try to store it in, we call it a CRB proof container. Really what that is a hard plastic container of some sort. A plastic bag, again, they can bore through really easily, but if you store it in hard plastic, it also masks the smell a little bit more and it's harder for them to bore through it. And then treat infestation. So there are different pond treatments and breeding site treatments. I'm not going to go into detail of them today because we're short on time, but on our website, we have a big list of things that you can do. I do want to point out that there are a lot of businesses now, commercial businesses doing treatments, and I would recommend to look on our website for things that we recommend first, and then see what their businesses are offering, because there are businesses that might not offer something that our recommendations are based on research from UH and other parts of the Pacific, but some businesses might do something that we haven't found be effective. So you can always reach out to us before you hire someone. For pond treatments, most of them are going to be effective if they're done on like a large scale, like if the whole neighborhood get together and combine with breeding or green waste management. And then one other thing that you can do that really helps too is just to spread the word and engage the community. So that is all I have for my presentation, but I can take questions. And that's our website right there that has a lot of information for treatments or identification. If you think you find a beetle, you're not sure what it is, you don't have to report all the beetles you find anymore because they're so widespread, but we definitely can help. If you think you found one and you want to know what it is you find, we can try to help you with identification, and reach out to us for any questions or recommendations.
Thank you so much, Sana. Yes, we do have questions. Go ahead.
Hi, Sana. My name is Cowie, and I went to a CRB event and learned some things that I wanted to kind of bounce off of you. One is that they said it would be a good idea to put netting around the base of coconut trees because the males crawl up the trees at night. I hadn't heard that before. Have you heard that?
Yes, so netting is a type of treatment that you can do that it doesn't, you don't need to use any chemical, it's not pesticides, and it creates a barrier. So you wrap the netting around the area where the beetles would bore in, and then when they try to feed, they get stuck in the net.
Okay, so
the netting, yeah.
But they try to bore in at the top of the tree though.
Right? Yeah, so you have to have access to the crown. So it's
okay.
Might not be feasible on very tall trees, or yeah, you'd have to access the crown because they can fly, so they're not crawling up the whole trunk.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing I heard about was a bucket with netting over it and black light in the bucket. Somehow the black light attracts the beetles and then they get caught in the netting.
Yes, so that's a type of trap that you can get a light, or even just like mulch or compost, anything that will attract them. You can put in a bucket, and you can put a net over it, and because whatever attracts them, they will try to get into it, and they get stuck in the net.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Sana about the coconut rhinoceros beetle? Is Chris? Oh, yeah. Hi, Chris. Do you have a
Aloha.
question? Aloha.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to thank Sana for coming to speak to our community. We're here at U, so it's very, very something that's central to our community, and we really need the information. I was wondering, I had heard that the state doesn't have detection dogs available for the community, only at the ports. But is there any plans to change that, or we really need the early detection?
Yeah, so unfortunately at this point, our dogs, they're actually USDA owned dogs, but our program are handling them. And because of the funding from USDA, we can only have them working mostly at ports of exit or at facilities that are preparing material that is moving off of Oahu to neighboring islands. So at this point, unfortunately, there's not any dogs that or detection dogs for CRB like through our program. We know that there's a lot of people that are interested in training their own dogs, but from our program, unfortunately, there's nothing available for private homeowners or community members.
Right. Yeah, that I'm aware of that, but I was wondering, is there plans to change that? I know we have Chair Waters here, so he might be a good person, as far as the city resources to connect with. But yeah, we have in our community here very unique varieties of niu that some are from Niihau that have been brought here, and it's always been a sign of a good chief is to have your land planted in niu, and so we have this abundance of coconut trees that we stand to lose, and so unless we really all are partnering on this. So one of the things too that we have heard about is the wavelengths of light that attract the CRB. With what Chair Water is talking about is we have a lot of the empty homes that they just leave the lights on all night long for security measures, but we've been told that wavelength or certain wavelengths of light actually bring in the CRB. Is that, you have any thoughts on that?
So there is a recent publication where they measure different wavelengths of light and had it connected to our panel traps. And there were different wavelengths that attracted more beetles than others, but they're not going to bring in the beetles from very far. So it's mostly if the beetle is around and they see the light, that might attract them, but it's not really attracting them from like far distances.
Like we have a lot I've seen along the highway where folks are putting spotlights up into the crowns of the coconut trees. Would that be is that kind of
I'm not too sure if that will attract them more than just the smell of the coconut tree itself.
okay.
I don't know if they've done like any. I don't think they've done any research on how that affects actually having a light in the tree, how that attracts them. We just done it with the panel traps.
Okay. How about for folks that want to get netting, where would you, is there places in on this side that where folks can get netting?
So unfortunately, the netting, because it's a type of fishing net that it's illegal to use here in the waters in Hawaii. You can't buy it, like you can't go to a fishing store and buy it. You have to order it online. Anyone that is interested can reach out to us and we can share where we are getting it from. We might be able to give some away to try it out. It kind of depends on the quantity, but yeah, you can always reach out to us and we can share where we're getting it from and so other places we know. It's starting to get a little hard to get because it's that very high demand at this point. But yeah, we're willing to share some of our resources.
Well, Chris and Sana, thank you both very much. And we'd like to hear more from both of you on what we can do as a community, what you've told us about the type of plant material that CRB larvae like to develop in and what to watch out for has been very helpful. And whatever else you can suggest for us to use, we'd be glad to publicize it and do as much as we can. What
Thank
I
you, Chair.
want to do now, huh? Oh, hi, Chris. What?
I just wanted to thank you for inviting the CRB team here, and then also add that we've at the Mauna Loa Fish Pond Heritage Center, we've had a number of workshops for community to come and learn about proper care of the new and also what they can do for the CRB. So we're planning some more with the Kuli'ou'ou Kai. So
Yeah, can you please make sure that we hear when they are, and then we will publicize those dates.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have one more presentation, so I want to leave time for them to speak. But I thank you both very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, there's a quick question, I hope, from Kevin Mulkern. Yes, we will see.
I've had a little personal experience with the coconut rhinoceros beetles. The first thing they ate at my nursery were the fan palms, which are endemic. They were in 25-gallon containers. We were selling them for $3.50 a piece. I think there were 6 palms that are toast. At my farm, I planted about 100 coconut trees. I'm working with the University of Hawaii. They're spraying essential oils. It's not working too well. So it looks like I may lose the 100 trees. I have 6 40-foot trees, and they are kind of toast now too. So I'm looking at maybe $1,500 a piece to remove each of the trees. I don't get to Waianae or the North Shore very often, but I was at Waikele Golf Course and enjoying a nice evening. And then a person said, look up at the coconut trees, which had no tops. When I was in Mokalia a couple of days ago, and if you would kind of visualize the fan palms across from the shopping center in Hawaii Kai at the corner of Lunalila Home Road and Kalani Highway, there's a row of fan palms directly across from the shopping center. I think they were planted maybe 15 or 20 years ago. They're about 20 feet tall. But in Mokalia, I saw a hedge the same length The only problem was there were no tops on the fan palms. It is a disaster. And although we're kind of focused on the rhinoceros beetles, we really should be thinking about invasives kind of in a little more broader sense, because as a nurseryman in Waimanalo, we seem to be getting blamed for sharing invasives with the rest of the island, where in actuality, the fire ants were detected on the Big Island more than 20 years ago. The rhinoceros beetles, I guess about 10 or 15 years ago in Pearl Harbor. Now they're in Waimanalo, and they are spreading from Waimanalo, but they didn't start there. If one has a coconut tree, the only effective method is injecting with a systemic insecticide. If you're having a private sector person doing it and you have more than 10 trees, it's $100 a tree. Less than 10, it's $125. If you're in an infested area that you're treating them twice a year, you cannot eat the fruit, but at least it's effective as far as keeping the trees alive. We're trying to go organic at our farm. We're thinking about spraying pyrethrins, which is a certified organic insecticide from flowers, but we would need to spray twice a week. So it's a little hard to, once every 2 weeks. I'm getting a little animated. But the cost of labor and materials gets kind of astronomical. But I really suggest all of you, if you have a chance, drive out to the Waianae coast, drive out to Mililani, or go out to Mokuleia, and you look up, you say, I can't use a 4-letter expletive, I guess, but it's a disaster. And if you think in terms of your coconut tree in your yard, if you have 3 and they're next to your house, it's probably going to cost you $3,000 a piece, because if they have to be roped down, because at my farm they can just be dropped on grass, but you can't drop a coconut tree that's 20 or 30 feet tall on your neighbor's house. They're going to take a dim view on it. So it's a disaster. Until you've seen the trees in other parts of the island, you have no idea how bad it is. And so it's extremely expensive. And I'm very angry at the Department of Ag. I think the head of the department, gets a little more money than my entire crew combined. They should have done a better job informing the public. They should have done a better job attacking it when there were like 20 little beetles, rather than saying, oh, look, it's spread. What hasn't been made clear, and please correct me if any of the information I'm giving is inaccurate or false, but I believe they've abandoned Oahu and Kauai because there are too many beetles on the island to control. They're focused at the ports, but there are beetles on Maui and also the Big Island. So they're basically watching them spread. And I'm not sure what can be done other than what is called biological controls. And hopefully it's someone's traveling the world trying to find a fungus, an insect, or maybe a green snake from, what is that, Guam, that maybe can be brought in. Anyway, I'm starting.
No snakes, thank you. Okay. I'd like to welcome our staff from OHA. Please come up and tell us about what services OHA is providing to our Kanaka Maoli. We have many in our area, and what is available for the community as a whole to learn about our connection to land and what we should know about that you do.
Mahalo. First of all, aloha no, mehana, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Mahalo to the chair as well as the board members of the Kuli'ou'ou-Kalani Iki Neighborhood Board, and to our elected official, Honolulu City Council Chair Waters. Mahalo for your presentation, and to the city officials for their presentation and all for their presentations. And mahalo to those online and present here to welcome us to this neighborhood board meeting. My name is Kalia Kaka. I'm honored to serve as your Oahu trustee. Joining me this evening as well is Mark Watanabe. He had passed out some of the informational handouts that we have on the table here, as well as what was shared to you board members on some of what the Office of Foreign Affairs does. And also joining us is
Thank you, Trustee Akaka. I'm Bill Brennan. I'm the Director of Communications at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. I've only been there 6 months. It's a new and rewarding experience for me thus far. In my past life, I've worked in TV news and I've worked as a communications spokesperson for various city projects and was press secretary for Mayor Mufi Hanneman back in the day. So I've sat in on some neighborhood board meetings. You know, we at OHA have decided that it's important for us to be in the community and to engage with the community. So just beginning here this month of May, we're starting to attend several neighborhood boards, not all of them yet, but several neighborhood boards around Oahu to provide information, to answer questions, to give updates on the important work that we have going on. So I just want to mahalo everyone for including us today. I know it's late. I know you've been through a lot here already, but we really appreciate the opportunity to engage with you here at the Kuli'ou'ou-Kalani Iki Neighborhood Board and look forward to, you know, establishing a relationship, having you get to know me, get to know Trustee Akaka. We can stay in touch. We can exchange emails and be available to answer questions, as I said, and provide information from us. Yeah.
share a little more. So a bit of history on the Office of Foreign Affairs. We were created in 1978 with the mission then and what continues to today, which is to better the conditions for our Native Hawaiian people, our Oiwi Kanaka. And this goes hand in hand with our strategic plan, Mana I Maoli Ola, with the pillars and directions of economic resiliency, education, health, and housing. There's so much that we do, and we welcome any questions that we might be able to answer now or sometime later. But again, mahalo nui for letting us speak with you this evening and in the future, as this helps us stay on the pulse of the community, our Oahu community, to see what's working, what's not working, how we can improve on things and work together and kako with one another to help our community as a whole. Mahalo.
I'd just quickly like to add, Mark passed out several publications, one of which is Kawai Ola, our monthly newspaper that gets out to about 75,000 residents and beneficiaries around the state. And we send it to Native Hawaiians on the mainland as well. You can also find that online, and that's really what I want to plug is www.oha.org. There's a lot of information on our website. There's a Kawai News portion on the website. It's a handy resource and available for you that talks about the many programs and that we have going on in those areas that Trustee Akaka mentioned: education, housing, economic stability and resiliency, and healthcare. So please visit that. We are also available on social media too. We have Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts as well, as everybody needs in this day and age. But a lot of people really appreciate the newspaper, which is delivered free, you know, throughout the year, comes out monthly. So you have the newest May issue, which just hit the stands. It's devoted to climate change and the impact and how Native knowledge going way back can help combat climate change here. So we just want to share that. That's our probably biggest public-facing communications tool that we have. And as I said, I just wanted to make available the website for your convenience too. Yeah.
Also share that more of what we have handed out is a pamphlet called What OHA Does, some of the history and what we do. as well as our annual report, that larger piece. And then the last item being our Ola Ka'i, our children's coloring book. It says there Ovai o Oha and is written Maka Olelo Makuahine, which is our mother tongue. And we're happy to share that with you all, something to take home. But do you have any questions or wonderings?
I was just wondering, since we're talking about threats to symbols of, of our past and of our connection to land and our coconut trees and the coconut rhinoceros beetle and there not being enough, we don't have the resources to mount an effective response to them to save what we can of our coconut trees. Is there any program or funding that OHA can provide us to assist with that?
Mahalo for that question. To answer that, a lot of what we do is in advocacy within the community from the county, state, and federal level. Just in this past state legislative open session that just closed recently, we monitor bills. We have a legislative package. I personally made sure that the rhinoceros beetle bills and anything that came up regarding that was included, and that we had a voice in that to be supportive on managing this pilikia within our community of Niu, as that is a native
I
land.
gotta go into a meeting, but thank you. I'll keep in
I'm
touch.
hearing Helani Sonora, a neighborhood board member. Aloha no. Mahalo for all that you do for our Hawaiian community through the years. Mahalo. We hope to see you sometime soon as well. But that is some of what we're doing, which is in the format of advocacy and working with our government on that. I'm open to hearing what more that we can do within our means as well.
Oh, just wondering, what you might have to offer, to help us. Thank you for weighing in on those bills and making sure that those concerns were included.
I do want to say this is something that I think it'd be good to be in communication with the Department of Agriculture, as it was shared earlier. The chairperson is Sharon Hurd, and we have worked with the Department of Ag and with the various offices on various matters as well. But I think it would be good to be in communication with them to let them know of any challenges with that, and that they might be able to give proper attention to that matter.
We have go ahead, Janine. We have a question.
Hi, aloha. My father was actually in the meetings that established OHA. And I didn't realize it till I saw a check. He got $100 for attending all those meetings way back when in 1978. So I feel a personal responsibility to guide OHA, and I'm constantly probably a thorn in your side because I have been advocating for more money for our native homes to be built. So I'm so glad to see that. But also I've been hearing from people, Native Hawaiians on the mainland, they want part of the resources. They want money. And I'm just like, no, you moved away. You should not be allowed to have that. So I don't know. It seems like people are being pulled to the continent, but yet they still want to have that access to our resources, which we need desperately for our people to build houses and to even put food on the table. Because as you know, food sustainability is not, we just don't have that here. We can't grow our own food yet, and with the shipping the way it is with the new Trump regime, it's going to get worse. So I think we need to keep our resources here in Hawaii. We should not be sending it, to the mainland for other people who have left to go for a better life. And I know that's a lot of people, my own son included. But I just have to say that we have people here that are in need, and we need to focus on those people. Thank you.
Mahalo. So, to address some of what your mana'o was shared regarding housing, we say annually we contribute up to $3 million to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and that is to kokua them, and that is in contract. And regarding those that are Native Hawaiian that do not live here in Hawaii, that is a constant topic of conversation that we have regarding ea, regarding self-determination, as well as bringing our Native Hawaiian people back home and looking at ways that we can address that so that our people, whether they choose to be overseas, that's okay. But if they want to come home, making that opportunity available to our Native Hawaiians, and how our Office of Hawaiian Affairs as a state agency, the way we are created and set up is where our work is specifically to service Native Hawaiians that reside here in Hawaii. However, my personal belief is that whenever the kahea, the call comes to us, whether it's those that came before us, those now, and those later, it's not limited to the circumference of our Hawaiian islands. So for instance, we have iwi kupuna that have been pulled away from the shores of Hawaii, and we've recently brought some back home just a matter of days ago, and that kahea is outside of Hawaii. So I just wanted to share that with you as well.
We have a question from Healani. Go ahead, Healani.
Aloha.
Aloha, what an honor to have you, Trustee Akaka, here in our area. I apologize for being late. We are organizing for Puakuloa's hearing on Friday.
I figured, yeah.
I just finished the meeting, but I wanted to also mahalo Oha for coming out to Wailupe, to the Pu'uhonua o Wailupe, and for your support in trying to figure out a way forward in terms of preserving that burial ground. And so we had a great conversation with OHA staff, but I, would like to know where you stand in terms of preserving Pu'uhonua Wailupe, and if you are someone we can count on. This neighborhood board has passed a reso to support the preservation of Pu'uhonua Wailupe, as well as the Waimanalo and Mauna Lua neighborhood board. But that would be my question. But thank you so much for being here. It's what an honor.
Mahalo. Mahalo for all that you're doing through the many years of service to our Native Hawaiian community and our people as a whole, and including with the challenges with our Vai and Red Hill and so forth. Countless things that you do. And to answer your question regarding all that you mentioned, my commitment is there. I know that we've had previous conversations on this, and I mahalo you for reaching out to me personally. And I'm thankful for the conversations we've had collectively with Mayor Blangiardi's office, and seeing how we can best move forward, and how that interconnected role can be with Office of Hawaiian Affairs and with the county, and even beyond. I'm open to exploring the options to see how we can best do this. And I always feel it's important to include, and I know that you folks are doing that, to include the lineal descendants of those that were specifically placed there with their their final resting place, and how we can mindfully and respectfully have them in a place that can properly house them eternally.
Mahalo nui. Thank you so much, Trustee.
Mahalo. Aloha.
Okay. I'd like to say mahalo for in Kauaiola, including so many articles in both legal languages in our state, both Olelo Hawaii and English, which helps those of us who are who are still learning and hopefully improving our fluency in Olelo, Hawaii. It's so wonderful to see it in writing and be able to learn and see the translations. So please don't stop doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Some of what we are focused on is in our budget as well as to ensure that these publications are made possible and that it goes out to our community in both forms. Mahalo.
Well,
Just that real quick. Yeah, every February, which is Olelo Hawaii month, the February issue of Kawaiola is in both languages. So there's a translation, and as you say, it's a great time to be able to learn, to pick up, more of Olelo Hawaii. The coloring book that Trustee mentioned was done during February because that's the month dedicated. It's very impressive to see the number of kids who are getting more and more fluent with each passing year in Olelo. And it's, as I say, the Kawaiola in February is the one that we really put an emphasis on making the language the priority.
Well, thank you for coming to speak to us and touch base with us, and we look forward to interacting with you more and being able to ask you questions, and ask you for your support. I guess one more question?
Yeah,
Please
and
go
I think
ahead,
it's,
Mecca.
directed at you or maybe just the board, or if this is even appropriate for the official reports, right? We have all of these wonderful speakers that are coming in and we get kind of a monthly connection to them. And I think you're bringing that perspective of our host culture, which I think is important and should be honored maybe in these walls. And so if it's appropriate, allowed, whatever the right word is, to include you as 5'8" and have a monthly representative included, I think that would just
Thank you
be
so much.
appropriate.
I appreciate that. That was something that I had discussed with Kehao, who serves as our COO. We last night we had presented along with Mark Watanabe at the Waianae Coast Neighborhood Board, and we were thinking it might be fitting if we're able to do this monthly to have that option to do maybe perhaps a 3 to 5 minute announcements on what's going on at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs that might be of interest to you. And I also welcome you to join us. We have every other week, unless other things come up, we have our committee meetings as well as our Board of Trustee meetings. On Wednesdays, we have our 3 committee meetings. That's the starting at 9 a.m. Usually the BAE, which is our Beneficiary Advocacy and Empowerment Committee. A lot of what we do in that committee is discussing advocacy, community concerns, as well as legislative matters. And then we have at 11 a.m. the ILM, which is our investments and land management. So that's regarding our investments and portfolio and regarding our land, as we have various parcels of land, legacy lands, and those that generate funding to us, as well as having a, I want to say 2 p.m. I'm sorry, that 2 p.m. is the ILM meeting, but the meeting that we have is a budget and finance meeting, which much of what we discuss is regarding our budget and finances and all that good stuff. But we welcome you under community concerns to come and share with us some of what might be good for us to know with what's happening in your community that affects also our Native Hawaiian people, and how that would align with our mission and our strategic plan and our advocacy. And if there's anything that you're specifically working on or have concerns on that you are celebrating, that you share that with us. And then on Thursdays, oftentimes at 10 a.m., we have our Board of Trustees meeting. So we have our committee meetings the day prior, and then the next day, the board meeting. And that's where a lot of the action items that we have are ratified.
Those meetings are available virtually.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Thank you.
Yeah, make your way down to our headquarters on Nimitz Highway, but you're welcome to come there as well. They're hybrid meetings. They can be both in person or you can watch from the comfort of your home virtually.
Yes, it's on oha.org/live stream. So you'll be able to see meetings that we've had and them being posted up there and then watching them live.
Well, thank you very much for the offer. And please, if you feel that that coming to our meetings would be helpful, and if you have news that you would like to share, please let me know.
Thank you.
All right, mahalo.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's now time for our closing announcements. First, I'd like to welcome all the residents who live in Kuli'ou'ou to please look at the Neighborhood Commission website and vote for neighborhood board members for the next term. We have several good candidates, and please take a look at their resumes and decide if you would like them to join us. But it's only for Kuli'ou'ou residents that will be able to vote. If there are uncontested votes, you will not be able to go outside your sub-district to vote. The other announcement is that on June 5th, the mayor is having a town hall at Kalani High School beginning at 7 p.m. Please try to make it. Our next regular meeting will be on June 4th, the day before the town hall, same time, and here at the Aina Haina Library. So all of you are welcome to join us. I would now like to adjourn our meeting, and again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for caring about your community.
Thank you, Chair.